All right, guys, just got back from Istanbul. Long flight. Actually, flight had to get diverted to Munich because there was a pregnant lady on the flight that had to get off. I guess she went into labor. So got home at 4:30 in the morning, but I thought I'd just take a moment. I've been slacking on the YouTube videos and just do an overall insider review on how the event went. Overall for me, as well as go through all the matches. So I'll start off with my match. Obviously, we can just get that out of the way. It was a huge blessing to be able to pull Devit again. Um, what a true champion, like in every aspect. The way he carries himself, everything. Um, it, some people, I think, are going to say that it was one sided or dominant. In my opinion, that wasn't the case. I had to work really hard for everything. Only a few lanes that I have to be able to beat Devit, and he has lanes that he can beat me in, and it was definitely a chess match to getting to your spot first for sure. So big hats off to him. Couple things about the match that I want to address. First and foremost, I see a lot of comments about weight and all that different stuff, and somehow because I've been offered some 105 matches, people are saying I'm a 105 guy. That's not the case. I have to eat my face off to try and get anywhere near 105. So realistically, the best I can really do with a decent body composition is like 101, 102. Everything else is just excess garbage weight, and I struggle to even get close to that 105. So yeah, in prep for this match, people talk about the weight difference and everything, and there's definitely a weight difference, obviously. I think Devit was like around 90, and I weighed in obviously at the 94. On the day away, and I weighed at 94.2 or something like that. And my prep for this actual match, I don't think I ever went above 98. I was kind of hovering around 97, 96, 98, depending on the day and water intake and food intake and everything. And that's with me actually, prepping and controlling my nutrition and trying to be as optimally big as possible. So I'm not in fact a 105 guy. I will gladly entertain 105 matches. However, that's not my normal walk around weight. That's me pushing really, really hard to get to that 231 weight. Is like I've only ever been there a couple times in my life, and most of them date back to football times where I'm eating everything under the sun, just trying to be as big as possible. So weight difference, definitely, absolutely. I was slightly lighter in this prep than I normally am for matches, and I think it was just because of clean diet and just general activity levels. So, but I think I felt good, overall. Um, that one thing I wanted to touch on then also is some of the refereeing stuff. I know the refs caught a bunch of flack with me and Sasho, and a little bit similar situation again with Devit. I have no ill will towards the referees at all. I've ref plenty of matches myself, and I know it's a thankless job and it's an impossibility. So it's tricky, as a puller, you kind of have to lobby for yourself and make sure that you're getting the best opportunities. It's not a dig on the referees at all. And it's not even about mistakes. Every ref is a little bit different. They see things a little bit differently. And to me, that's totally understandable. That's just the nature of the game. So I have no like negative things to say about the referees at all. But my reactions in the moment were just me lobbying for what I think I needed in the moment. So I think that's part of arm wrestling. That's part of the martial art. And I think like for newer pullers, um, it's a good thing to understand. You definitely don't want to make enemies of referees and criticize them too much. Everybody has their own approach, and there's different ways to skin a cat for sure. But now I have no. I think overall East versus West. I've been a part of a lot of promotions, and the refereeing there is as good as anywhere, better than anywhere that I've dealt with. So the rule set, everything is totally fine. Obviously, I'm calling for a pin. I feel as though I need to do that for myself just to make sure. It's a little bit different when you're a hook puller than when you're a top roller. If you're a top roller and you're constantly pinning people's knuckles because you have control of their hand, that's an easy thing to see when a knuckle comes underneath the pin line. For a hook puller, there's big question about where is the wrist, and every referee sees it differently. As far as I'm concerned, the way I understand it is right when the wrist starts to break in that bend, that's the wrist joint, and that's where the pin should be called. So obviously that's what I was lobbying for. But all things considered, overall, it was nothing short of excellent as it always is. So no qualms right there. As far as the actual match went, as expected, I knew it was going to be a dogfight. I knew I was going to have to work for everything. Devit is an amazing champion, the best pound for pound puller that is in the East versus West promotion, in my opinion, bar none. So, with the weight difference, regardless of the weight difference, to me, that was a very important match for me. And I know Devit definitely wanted the opportunity to get that one back. So, yeah, it was a huge opportunity, definitely a match that I'll remember for a long time. So, big thank you to Robert and Angan for helping that happen. Overall, general thoughts on the event before we get into the matches. Um, it probably the best production yet. Finally got through almost all of rewatching the pay-per-view and everything went off perfectly. So I think the improvements on that end are huge. The ability to DVR and rewind makes it so easy to go through the matches now. The apps being set up is huge progress. So guys, if you're not getting these pay-per-views, get the pay-per-views, because this is really the lifeblood of moving this sport forward right now. Until a big sponsor comes along and makes everybody's life easier, we got to sell pay-per-view. So if you're a fan of the sport, make sure you're buying that pay-per-view, because that $20 is definitely helping to go a long way for the sport in general. All right, so let's get into the matches. First one, Zurab versus Gorgi. This one didn't go the way that I predicted, and a lot of my prediction was based off the AMC tournaments and who I wanted to win. I wanted Zurab to win coming off the arm break. Plus, I just like the guy a lot. The insider perspective on that, Zurab had some nerve damage from the arm break. And I think he still has a little bit of issues with his nerve connection for his riser and his wrist extension. So I think that came into play when it came down to, he knew he was going to have to pull without his wrist. He knew Gorgi was probably going to take it, and he was banking on that side pressure. And sometimes if your riser or your extensors aren't connected and you're pulling completely palm up with no rise at all, it can make it tricky. So Gorgi wound up taking that one, but I'm sure that's not the last we're going to see of Zurab. Obviously, his left arm is very good, and I think he probably needs a couple more warm-up matches to get the right arm ready. Next match, Petro versus Lachlan. This one I think was a little bit closer than it kind of looked. Petro has, again, insider perspective, Petro's hand is enormous, absolutely enormous. Big, thick fingers. Width of his hand is ridiculous. So it's very obvious why this guy's able to set the hook the way he is. In round two, and when Lachlan started really trying to attack his fingers, we saw like a glimmer of hope, but it wasn't quite enough. I think Lachlan came into the match, it was a 105 match. Lachlan was light again. I think he, when the day of weigh-ins, he was struggling to just try and be 102, 103. I think that stuff plays in. It's tough when your body wants to be a weight and you're trying to push it to another weight. So that could have played in, but hats off to Petro. Great performance. That guy's a stud. Next match, Zoranov and Camille. Again, this is one I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. And Zoranov seemed really comfortable and confident as we were interacting throughout the week, but so did Camille. And the more I got to talk to Camille at the VIP dinner, and his confidence level was through the roof, I started thinking, okay, maybe this is swinging his way, and it absolutely did. I was expecting Zoranov to, just continue to meet Camille on the inside on that press, and he wound up coming outside a little bit, and it was Camille's day. So hats off to Camille. The dude's a stud. Great promoter, great energy, just a blessing for the sport overall. The guy's awesome. The sky's the limit, either arm. Obviously, his left's a little bit better, but man, the dude's a stud. Next match was Matt Mask and Nugo. Nugo Chikatsi. If you haven't looked up Nugo, man, Georgian, he's so excellent in every way, not just an arm wrestler, but like his energy is awesome. And obviously, we all know Matt. Matt is tremendous. Amazing, amazing dude on and off the table. What you see on the table is not the way he is in real life. He's the sweetest dude in the world. Great corner man. And those guys brought all the hype and all the intensity basically for the whole match. In my opinion, there were moments in that match that were the absolute best things that the entire event had to offer. These guys, regardless of outcome, should always continue to get match after match because they're pure entertainers. They're not trying to be either. They're just being themselves and letting the stuff take place on the table. But yeah, it did. Honestly, I thought Nugo was going to struggle a little bit more than he did. But what that really tells me is he was able to take his anatomical disadvantages and make them an advantage on match day. And what do I mean by that? I mean, Matt has one of the longest levers in that class, one of the biggest, strongest hands. And on the day, Matt was struggling to be able to get any riser connection at all. And because he was constantly being lowered to Nugo, and Nugo did a great job of being able to start as vertical as possible and keep his riser up. And, you know, if you have a good riser and you have a good post, that's the best answer to a dumped wrist. So round one, he wound up controlling the top strap. I think his wrist went back a little bit, but Nugo has a crazy strong arm too to go along with his hand. Even though his hand's very small, super strong, technician in the strap. So the first round went to Nugo. Second round, saying to Matt, like, let's try and match that riser. And, you know, even without the strap, Nugo shot a hook and successfully got it, like very, very violently and quickly. And the minute that happens, that makes you question whether you want to commit to your riser or not. So Nugo, great choices in the moment, wound up winning the match. And again, man, like when you talk about this guy, he has a huge, huge future at 105, which is wild because I believe he's probably naturally like a 90 kilogram puller. But I think, you know, he's shown that his hand and his power is enough for the 105 category. So very interested to see who he gets next. Next match, David Datakan and Gorgi Specov. If you paid attention at all, that wound up ending in an injury. Gorgi tore his bicep, first slip of the match. So tragic ending. Not a whole lot more to go along with that. I mean, we really didn't get to see any arm wrestling. But Datakan moves closer to what I think should be a match with Alajan. But we'll see. We'll see who he gets matched up with. Next match was one of my favorite of the card, Ivonne Matyushenko and Sergey Kalashnikov. My expectations coming into a lot of these matches were different than the actual outcomes. I figured Sergey was going to be pot committed to trying to top roll Ivonne, and that would be a failing effort because Ivonne is so great at setting the hook, probably the best hook setter. Him and Rousen probably own the planet. And Sergey met him in the middle and really made him arm wrestle. And after talking, again, insider stuff, after talking to Sergey, he'd only been training his hook for like 2 or 3 months. So like he was exclusively training top roll and started training his hook for this match. And the level at which he was able to compete inside was amazing. So Sergey, along with all the energy and charisma he brings, he is a tremendous arm wrestler in every lane. So Ivonne wound up winning the match, but it was highly contested. There were fouls and things that definitely played into the match. Awesome match. To me, one of the best matches on the card, and I can't wait to see both of these guys pull again. After that, we had Egla and Joselyn. This one, I think Egla just showed experience and the value of it. And it's tricky for Americans, Canadians, us Westerners coming over and competing overseas the first time you do it. It's the travel, the time change, the schedule when you're there, the expectations, everything that's going on, your lack of familiarity with the refereeing. I know Joselyn had one match prior against Sarah, and that was in the United States. Well, this was on, this is obviously in Istanbul. Much bigger challenge for the person traveling over for the first time. And I think that showed a little bit. She was uncomfortable in the setups, and frustrated with the refereeing. I think, my advice to her and any other new pullers is that it's a learning experience. And when things don't go your way, you have a choice. You can get upset about it and use it, let it be a negative for you, or you can learn from it and say, what could I have done differently to affect that outcome, rather than focusing on what happened to me. What could I have done differently to positively affect that outcome? And I do believe, I want to make it completely clear that I believe Joselyn is like the future of women's arm wrestling as a representation for us in the West. We have some other great ladies out there who have been over or will eventually be over, but right now, Joselyn is the one who has shown that in beating Sarah, that she's right there on the cusp. She's top 5, maybe top 4. Just needs to gather a little bit more experience and learn from these tough situations. So we're hoping and praying for the best for Joselyn. Want to see her ramp training up and use this as motivation moving forward and keep climbing. Next up, Gennady Kvigvinia and Ibraham Sagov. This one's super interesting because there was a lot at play. I mean, we all know about Gennady having to cut like 27 kilograms or something wild. Coming from being bulked all the way up to as much as he could be to be a super heavyweight, and then drop down to 115 in I don't know how many weeks lead time he had, but he had like 24 kilograms from the time that he arrived in Istanbul to the time of weigh-in. And he was dying, and I was worried. Like right when I landed and got caught up to speed, I was just thinking, how can I help here? Because we're 4 days out from weigh-in time, and he had already started the sauna. And maybe that was what's needed. He's a professional. He's done this before. I get it. But for me personally, I would never want to be dehydrated 4 days out. I don't want to be dehydrated 1 day out. I want to cut my water as close to the time to weigh in as possible, because there's a correlation between how long you're dehydrated and how long it takes to get rehydrated. So in theory, if I'm dehydrated for 4 days, it's going to take me much longer to get rehydrated when I only have 24 to 30 hours to be able to get that rehydration back in. So I was very, very concerned about that. I had Gennady as a favorite, slight favorite, just knowing there was going to be a cut. And then when I heard 24 kilograms, I was like, oh, this could be tricky. And then I saw Ibrahim, and Ibrahim was like the biggest I've ever seen him, and obviously the biggest I've ever seen him. But I mean, goodness, I think he had to cut a couple pounds. And this is a guy who, 2 years ago was an AMC at 95. So this guy is enormous. The good thing for him is he's got height. He's a couple inches taller than Gennady. I think he's about 6'3", which makes that press so lethal. And it turned out to be exactly that. Just no way to stop that shoulder forward press. He does it so proficiently. And honestly, I mean, this guy right now with can't think of the Croatian kid. I cannot think of his name right now. Reno Masic. With Reno being injured, I mean, I think that the guy that Reno pulled is not the guy that Gennady pulled. I think the guy that Gennady pulled is a monster. So, I mean, it's looking like that, when Reno comes back, that's going to be a tall, tall task. So, huge hats off to Ibrahim. Amazing performance. Gennady, always a warrior. He did make the weight, obviously. And he did it in a savage way. So, big hats off to both of those guys. Next match was Arthur Makarov and Daniel Prokopchuk. Another very, very good match. First round, we see Daniel with that lean back, high pronated, flat wrist top roll attempt. He's so good at that. Back pressure is crazy. Pronation's crazy. And Arthur just cupped it. with that big mutated hand that he has. And he just cupped it and got so tight and lean side pressure on it. Next round, we see Daniel dig into a hook. I believe Daniel won that round. I can't remember. I think it was a 4-1. But the match was highly, highly contested. There were fouls, all kinds of things that happened. And Daniel sucking into a hook at one point in that match, I want to say round 2, round 3, I thought it was his match. I thought he was winning it. And I was like believing it, like, but it was very, very, like, very, very technical hook pulling. And Arthur gets so tight. He's got that huge bicep and that huge hand, but he has the ability to get so tight to his shoulder that I'm just jealous of, because I can't get there. My arm stops right here. I wish it would go to like right here. But yeah, a tremendous, tremendous job. He wore Daniel down the last couple rounds. He was able to hit directly into his lane, and Daniel had already been stretched past that elastic limit. So Arthur's looking like a dominant champion at that lightweight class. We'll see if there's anybody who comes up that can contest him. Next match, my favorite, or the one I was most highly anticipating, was Todd Hutchings and Rustam Babayev. So if you've been paying attention to the internet at all, we'll get right to the meat of it. Rustam got injured, popped something in his shoulder. We don't know the extent of it, but I guess he heard a pop, and it felt loose, and he opted out after the second round when he was up 2-0. So let's recap those first 2 rounds. A lot of fouls, a lot of confusion in that match. First round, I believe Hutchings fouled out, and had actually pinned Rustam one time on those foul attempts. And I think the one that he actually pinned him on wasn't a foul. It got reviewed, and they went back and called it a false start. So Todd was able to match the speed and everything, and he did look like there was a slight strength edge in a hook. Strong enough that in the second round, Rustam hit like a containment top roll when Todd was, I think, coming back to slip, and he contained him and flash pinned him before the slip. So it went 2-0 that way. But even at the time of injury, it felt like the tides were turning towards Todd. So you needed 4 wins. It was a title match. So unfortunately, we won't get to see that. Todd was obviously very disappointed. I'm sure both men obviously were very disappointed. Rustam doesn't think the injury is too serious. It was more like a bow out for a preventative measure to not make whatever that pop was or that instability make it any worse, so that he couldn't compete in the future. So we'll see that match again. There's no way around it. Todd has yet to win a round on him. So he got closer with that pin that got called back for a false start. So I know he wants to run it back, and I'm sure we'll see it again. Last match, Vitali and Michael Todd. Man, there were spots where Michael looked good. So like the areas that he trained held up really well. His riser, his pronation, all that good stuff held up really well. He slowed Vitali up in the center of the table. But Vitali did what everybody was questioning if he could or could not do, which was flop wrist press. And a lot of people didn't think he could do it effectively. I was one of the doubters in that aspect. And not only did he do it, but he used that anatomy and his ability to be so high above the table and drop his weight down. And his arm is so long too, that he was able to keep his shoulder behind center line and really pin Todd across the table, Michael Todd across the table. So like he was really, that arm was stretched all the way on Michael's side, and he's pressing down, 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 down. And a lot of controversy in that match. A lot of Michael's matches wind up that way. Even the last pin, like the question whether his knuckle touched or not, it was very just a grazing pin. Hard to say completely. Looked like on video that it did. I mean, that's all you have to go off of. And I'll tell you, if I'm Vitali and there's even any question and the pin's called, I'm saying, man, the ruling on the field stands. Like, it is what it is. It's tricky when so much is on the line. You got a lot of money on the line. You got title shots on the line. There's a lot of implications on these. So the guys get wound up, and obviously people want to have their fair shake. But Vitali looked amazing. Not to say Michael couldn't have turned it around if there was another round. That we'll never know. But both of these guys. Obviously, Vitali's lined up now for I guess a match with Devin, and then and Hermes with Laban, and then the winner of that with the winner of that, and blah blah blah. And the drama goes on. So Michael's got opportunities coming up here too. We'll see if it's Chicago or the next event, but everything at this event was awesome. I truly enjoy going to Istanbul. I've really been kind of like indoctrinated with that whole process. I'm very, very comfortable with it. I think personally for me, a lot of people don't like to travel. And obviously it's taxing, but I like, there's an importance that is built up with the uncomfortability for me. Like the getting on, driving 3 hours to the airport, getting on a flight for 10 hours, not sleeping right and everything, and having to cut weight. That stress, I think, brings a level of professionality and importance to the match for me, which usually forces me to bring more. So at this point, I think I just got to get a little bit better at pulling in my comfort zone here in the United States. But we'll see. No match announcements yet for me. We'll see if it's Chicago or the event after that in August. But again, I think we're going in such a great direction with East versus West and King of the Table. Robert and Dexter are great additions to what was already put out there by Angen's Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And being able to see Angen operate with a support system and an organized staff, like everything flowed so smoothly. Like Anna Gronlin and the rest of the team, they just did such a great job. It was such a less stressful event, and it was clearly less stressful for Angen. It was pleasant to see Angen actually enjoying himself, enjoying the matches, and enjoying his time in the fellowship with the pullers. So what Robert and Dexter and these guys are doing is huge for the sport. Anybody out there, guys, get these guys a sponsor. If you know somebody who's interested in sponsoring these events, especially in the United States, if there's any U.S. guys or Canadian guys, as the events come to the United States, let's rally the troops. Let's use our warm market. Let's see what's out there sponsor wise, so that we can alleviate the financial burden on these guys. Because I think the future is very, very bright, and we need to keep growing in that sponsorship area as well as viewership. Anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you feel like it, subscribe. I'll try and do some more of these. Try and make some more time in my busy schedule. But I appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to share it and stay tuned for the next one.